Welcome back, Generals, to another Let's Fix Generals 0 hour to make the best game ever. And I think we will be back with... reviews again, code reviews. Oh, yeah. Very likely. Let me see. So the close ones, do we need to move anything? Re-add. Update bug report templates. Bug report. I think this one needs to be moved here into the milestone. Okay, so let's take the reviews of least resistance. Least resistance. Open. What is this here? Package manager. Right now, we will only use this for zlib, but we eventually will need it for other dependencies as well. OpenRL soft, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Name setup. Define Mac types. What is this here? What does this Mac types do? What does this do? What does this do with zlib? I can actually also search Mac types. Zlib. Mac types. Byte uint. I see. It makes sure that byte is not being defined. Dependency zlib. Is it possible to bind zlib to? Is it possible to specify a specific version of it? What if zlib upgrades and then suddenly introduces bugs or interface changes? To avoid a situation where a dependency is updated by the remote and every user, every contributor has a different version of it and potentially runs into different issues that others cannot reproduce because they have an older version of zlib of a dependency from an earlier installation. Is it possible to specify a specific version for it to avoid a situation where dependency is updated by the remote and every contributor has a different version of it and potentially runs into different issues that others cannot reproduce because they have an older version of a dependency from an earlier installation? Avoid a situation where dependency is updated by the remote and every contributor has a different version of it. Potentially runs into different issues that others cannot reproduce because they have an older version. Pressure manager. CMake toolchain file. Well, let's take this change. This guy. Configure. Errors. Error. This change errors on CMake configure. Did he provide any information? No. So I guess his expectation is that it works, but it does not work. Yeah. They have an older version. Build minor. Okay. Let's look at this one here. Support FX shaded chunks from BFME. Okay. Let's see. This buff is much larger. This buffer size is used commonly in this file for the same use case. Okay. that case, this is perfectly fine then. As printf is used 125 times in this file, I would rather change all occurrences. Okay, if as printf is used, is always used in this file, then it is fine to. Okay, in that case, it is fine to keep using it. Probably, we will probably make a pass in the future and replace unsafe C functions. We can make a pass in a future change and replace unsafe functions. This function is required. That's a good point. Let me go here. So our, what is it, tools? No. General. Okay, let's search for this line here. allow temporaries. Loop A, B, alpha, set results. Oh, didn't save this here. Okay, let's build this. Okay, while we wait for this, let me see this one here. I would say that is more enhancements. It's also currently possible to disable window scaling by using compatibility section, but this will change. There will be no need to do that. Looks like Windows already applies this compatibility setting for original executables, possibly using some kind of compatibility database. So this issue happens only on manually built executables, which is unknown to Windows. It's quite quite a bit dialogue. Okay, this has succeeded. Good. So this change does indeed work. Simplify vector 3 lab. Push. Fixed. Okay, WWShade code isn't called by in any 0R library. No tools for making these W3D models exist. Only models in existence are ones Westwood quietly posted on the FTP after Renegade 2 got cancelled, and some strange oddballs in BFMEs that use some of the SHD chunks. No game or tool, however, can show these models, as nothing is not compiled with this code. Use WWShade is also used in that. Build minor. So this WWShade is only in 0 hour. Code, libraries, source, WW. Shade. Okay. WWShade, shade. Is WWShade working? By the way, regarding removal of things, here. No tools for making these W3D models exist. What would a WWShade model look like? Does the code work in theory? Would it be possible to revive this feature instead of deleting it? Would it be worth it? Does WWShade code work in principle? Let me put that comment here as a... Yes, this seems odd. If WWShade is decided to be removed, then I would expect any user code to be gone too. Yeah. It seems odd to me to remove it. Like, if there's, I mean, there must be a reason why WWShade was added, right? As like some visual improvement. So perhaps, but perhaps it's old tech that is better to be re-implemented with modern graphics API principles and not old stuff, old tech. Right, that could be. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Okay, what do we have here? Huh? This looks very similar to one of the reviews we have started. Huh? But it's not quite the same. Huh? What is the difference between this one and this one? Oh, this one is a draft. Oh. 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 By the way, why... What does commonize mean? Commonize, is that a word? To make similar two or more differences by way of intentional process. Deprecate, make ordinary. Commonize. Make similar or ordinary something. Commonize. To make similar or common. He attempted to commonize the various standards by ensuring a similar format and implementation. Okay. What about the word unify? Meaning? Consolidate. To cause to be one. To make into a unit. To unite. To view as one. Bring separate parts of something together as they are one. What word is better? Commonize. What word is better to describe merging code bases? Commonize, unify. Okay, so I realized that yesterday we started with the wrong review. Yeah. Well, looks like we have to redo the review then. Shit. Okay, let's start here. Okay. This commit is very tiny with just 2 lines changed. Perhaps it can be fused with another of these commits combined. This commit is very tiny with just 2 lines changed in semi. Yeah, I need to copy our comments. With this removed, does it mean that channels in 0 hour are no longer built here? Actually, we can probably answer this question by looking here. It still builds here. But it doesn't build the tools anymore, right? Let me see. Tools plus extras. View details. Can we see the artifact somewhere? Now let's download this guy. Mary. Let's see what's inside of this. It's less tools than I expected here. Let me go to GitHub. Generals, hold on. So this is from main branch. Okay, let's see this one in comparison. Yeah, this one contains much more tools here. So something is broken here in this change. I downloaded the generals T plus E artifact, and it contains a lot less tools than what is currently built on main branch of this change. And it contains a lot less tools than what is currently built on main branch. So something, this breaks the build. Well, like it doesn't build all the things anymore. Just this setup doesn't seem to be right. Yeah. and it contains a lot less tools than what is currently built on main branch. I think this is not correct. This does not look correct. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Now let me transfer all my comments over. Trick.h. Why is this file needed? Can remove the X here. Alphabetical order. Alphabetical order. Alphabetical order. actually. Alphabetical order. Why is this fire taken from generals while the others are taken from 0 hour? Base type.h. What is the branch name of this? Dedup compress. Dedup. Let's open WinMerge. WinMerge. Common. Libraries. Include. Lib. Include. Lib. Generals and 0 hour are different. Please include the correct header files for each game. Base time. Generals code, libraries, source. What was it? Compress and CSC div. Compress. Generals MD. Compress is identical. Okay, that's fine. And the other is CSC div. CSC div. Compare. They are exact same. Let me see, libraries, source, compression. Okay, they're all the same. Then that's fine. Compression, compress, and CSC div are an exact match between generals and 0 hour. Or let's say generals MD. Compression, compress, and CSC div are an exact match. I think this one has already been merged. Okay. Okay, that's good. By the way, it also moves asset car. It doesn't describe it. Hold on. Move asset cal to a common folder. Asset cal is unique to generals MD. Was unique to generals MD. Okay, so let's look at this one. I think that one is fine. We already looked at that, yeah. Super hackers add info. Philia. Dot. 0404. Okay, I'm. What is the greater vision here? There will be a base type.h in common, in generals, and in generals MD. How will this work then? AKA when we do include base type.h, which one is supposed to be included? Which one is supposed to be included? There now. So the space type H, I suspect he moved it here because of because it's used in compression or so, right? Let me see. No. Here, yeah, okay. So it's moved here because of this. Perhaps generals and generals mds base type.h will include comments base type.h. Yeah, I guess that would be a possibility. Yeah. I suspect as far as I can tell, this was moved here to accommodate, what was it? Compression. To accommodate the compression lib. I think before we move any stuffs into common, we need to have an absolute clear picture of how both games are built of common. So for example, will we build a Z common and G common, or let's say common, well, will we build a game engine, and let's call it ZC and GC game engine, or just one C game engine. . what are the libraries? What will the libraries look like that built of common? Okay, I think consolidating. So we should make sure anything that is an array gets named with array. Huh? Let me scroll a bit backwards in the chat. GZ game engine in common, which is linked by G game engine and Z game engine. In there you move common stuff like file system local, file system archive. 100% identical. You have a target GZ game engine in common, which is linked by G game engine. GZ game engine, which is linked by G game engine and Z game engine. In there you move common stuff like file system, local file system, archive, and so on. Cannot be moved, must be merged. Target GZ game engine. You have a target GZ game engine in common, which is linked by G. But then in Discord chat, you wrote you have a target that in common, which is linked by G game engine and Z game engine. How is this supposed to work if a file is 99% identical between generals and generals MD, and there is just one piece, just one, there's just a few lines that need to be different between, needs to be kept different between generals and generals MD targets. You cannot, if a file in GZ file for GZ game engine is 99% identical between generals and generals MD, and there are just a few lines that need to be kept different between generals and generals. How can we build this GZ? How can we build this GZ game engine target with that in mind? You have a target GZ game engine common, which is linked by G game engine and Z game engine. What's this supposed to? Or are these kinds of files meant to be kept in in G game engine and Z game engine. But if they are, doesn't that mean that we still retain a lot of duplication between the game? Philly. Let me just copy this here. What is the greater vision here? That would be a base time card. Yeah. The moves could be split from the code changes PR-wise, though, to make a much simpler and more easily improved PR. Third game engine, it links to it. think let me think about this. I think it makes sense to have a GZ game engine, but then we probably also need Z game engine. Thinking about this a bit. I think what we need is what we should establish first is a skeleton CMake setup for what it should be, and then agree on that. What I picture what I can currently picture is GZ game engine with pure 100% matches. And then another common. And then Z game engine. Then Z game engine and G game engine. What I can currently picture is GZ game engine with pure 100% mergeable files, mergeable code, and then Z game engine and game engine and core. Z game engine, G game engine, built off of common plus the respective games with 0-hour preprocessor. Then GZ game engine should just build. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. This doesn't work. Because if you have a header that has a if def 0-hour that something in here builds upon, then it will be incompatible. Yeah. Let's say we had a GZ game engine and core with pure 100% mergeable code. And then Z game engine and G game engine built off of common plus the respective games with 0 hour. This would not work because eventually some headers used by GZ game engine would have 0 hour pre-processor dependencies. I believe the cleanest way to, I think the most sane way to build this is only GZ libraries for absolutely 100% matching libraries. For libraries with 100% matching code, and everything else building G and Z libraries of common plus the plus generals or generals MD. Of common plus generals or generals MD with 0 hour preprocessor. Don't think I'm built off of common plus. This would not work because eventually some headers used by GZ game engine would have 0 hour preprocessor dependencies. The most sane way to build this is only GZ libraries with 100% matching code. Everything else building G and Z libraries of common, of files in common plus generals or generals in the 0 hour preprocessor. Files. The disadvantage of this is that it's still, like currently, needs to build 2 sets of games. Needs to build independent libraries for each game. But the advantage is that files inside common can contain if def 0 hour if def can contain if def 0 hour to make game specific, to keep game specific functionality in place. perhaps it can be a combination of these two approaches, but then GZ, then stuff inside GZ game engine must contain 0 dependencies on headers with if there's 0 hour, then CPPs inside GZ game must contain 0 dependencies on headers with this will be, well, it is possible. This will only work when working from the lowest system upwards. Yeah, this needs more thought, I think. Yeah, so move the purely common things first. Yeah. Yeah. How's this supposed to work? If a file for GZ game engine is 99% identical between generals and generals MD, and there are just a few lines that need to be kept different between generals and generals MD targets, how can we build this GZ game engine target with that in mind? Or are these kinds of files meant to be kept in G? But if they are, doesn't that mean we still retain a lot of duplication between the games? Let's say we had a GZ game engine and co with pure 100% measurable code, and then Z game engine and G build our files in common with 0 hour preprocessor. This would not work because eventually some headers used by GZ game engine would have 0 hour dependencies from headers. Some headers, that's already mentioned here. Some headers used by GZ game engine would have 0 hour preprocessor dependencies. Perhaps GZ libraries should be created only with GZ libraries should be created only with 100% matching code, and everything else perhaps GZ libraries should be created only with 100% matching code, and everything else should build G and Z libraries of files in common plus generals and V with 0 hour preprocessor. The disadvantage of this is that it still, like currently, needs to build independent libraries for each game, which takes compile time. But the advantage is that files inside common can contain if-dev 0 hour to keep game-specific functionalities in place. Contain some if-dev 0 hours to keep game-specific functionalities in place. Perhaps it can be a combination of these to approach it, but then CPPs inside GZ game engine must contain zero dependencies on headers. If this will only work when working from the lowest system upwards. So perhaps, yeah. Higher up CPP files will most likely include headers with if def 0 hour. Let's add this comment for now like this. Let's read it once more. Blah, blah, blah. How's this supposed to work if a file for GZ game engine... Hold on, let me add a few more... few more of these symbols here. Okay, how's this supposed to work if a file for a GZ game engine is 99% identical between the games and there are just a few lines that need to be kept different between these games? How can we build this GZ game engine target with that in mind? Or are these kinds of files meant to be kept in G game engine and Z game engine? But if they are, doesn't that mean we will retain a lot of duplication between the games? Let's say we had a GZ game engine and core with pure 100% mergeable code, and then Z game engine and G game engine built off of files in common plus again with pure, and then linked towards Z game engine, which also builds off of files of more files. Let's say we had a GZ game engine with pure 100% mergeable code and then linked towards Z game engine, G game engine, which also builds off of more files in common plus generals or generals MD with 0 hour preprocessor. This would not work because eventually some headers used by GZ game engine would have 0 hour preprocessor dependencies. Perhaps GZ libraries should be created only with 100% matching code and everything else should build the G and Z libraries of files in common plus generals or generals MD with 0 hour preprocessor. The disadvantage of that is that it still, like currently, needs to build independent libraries for each game, which takes compile time. But the advantage is that files inside common can contain some if def 0 hour to keep game specific functionalities in place. Perhaps it can be a combination of these two approaches, but then CPPs inside GZ game engine must contain zero dependencies on headers with if-def 0-hour. This will only work when working with the lowest system upwards. Higher up CPPs files will most likely include headers with if-def 0-hour. Yeah, so these are my current thoughts. I would like that we can agree on some approach here, because right now it's not clear to me how this will definitely look like. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but yeah, it's not really clear to me. Let me add a comment here. The change in this commit, I think we added this comment somewhere else already. Let's see. Where are we? Yeah. This commit is very tiny with just one file added. Perhaps it can be combined with another of these commits. Okay, so let me go through my comments again to make sure that they are all right. This commit is very tiny with just 2 lines change in CMX. This does not look correct, and download artifacts contain a lot less tools. Why is this file needed? Because actually I know the answer, because trick.h trick.h is needed by base type, that's why. Let me delete that. Alphabetical order. Tool movements, move of tools and libs and library looks safe because they match between generals and 0-hour. We need to discuss how common end game files are merged together exactly. It is not 100% clear to me. It's not clear to me. And there has been no write-up anywhere on how it should look like exactly. By the way, before we do that, we also should add consolidating. Also, can we come up with a better name, with a better term than dedup? Yeah. Let me submit this review. Yeah. Good. Yeah. I think we need a very clear understanding of how the merge should look like, functionality-wise, how it should be done. Like, we need to agree on how this should work. And it needs to be easy and robust. Yeah. So right now it's a bit Wild West, just like go ahead and just do it without a real plan on like how it should actually look. I haven't seen any write-up on this. I think it needs to be explained how exactly it should look like. Yeah. Okay. Then let me github.com. Let me see if there are any other urgent notifications that need some looking at. Yeah. What do we do if the assert failed though? I think there will nothing bad happen when it doesn't match in terms of length. Yeah. What do we do if the assert fails though? Well, let me look at the code here once more. Well, I think there will nothing bad happen when it doesn't match in terms of lengths. We might just display some garbage bytes. This this is not correct. It would be catastrophic for the code as is currently written. See, if constant strlen did not match the actual null terminated string, then the next chunk data read will be did not match the actual, did not match the length, did not match the length of the actual null terminated string. Then the next chunk data read will be at a odd location. If the null terminated string was the real truth, then this would, if the null terminated string was a real truth and not that 4-byte and not this one, then this would need to be rewritten as chunk data plus equals strlen constant name plus 1. It would be catastrophic for the code as is currently written. C. If constant SN did not match the length of the actual null terminated string, the next chunk data read will be at an odd location, will be at a wrong location. If the null terminated string was a real truth and not constant strlen, then this would need to be rewritten as comments. Did you say anything else? No. Let's submit that. Okay, anything else you can look at? This guy. Did you configure using CMake preset? Using this preset is mandatory. What will happen is the following. You run CMake preset. CMake invokes, which compiles and downloads the package. The version is controlled using the built-in baseline. This specifies the git hash the repository should be at when building the dependencies. Built-in baseline. So built-in baseline is the quasi checkpoint for the lib, for the library. CMake preset wins 32. I guess I can test it later again, yeah. Well, my expectation is that 95% of common issues are covered, are already tracked or fixed. Or let's say popular issues are already tracked or fixed. So before tracking, always check if it is not already mentioned somewhere. It's already mentioned on either code or patch repository. Okay, then I think I will take a break here. It's been 2 hours 15, yeah. Take a break. Then next session we can test this stuff here, see if it works. Good. Then I will take a break here. I wish you a great day or night. Until next time. Goodbye.